Hi everyone, my name is Lynn Costello, and for my final project I will be demonstrating how key motor learning principles can be applied when teaching pickleball. The skill being taught is the pickleball forehand ground stroke, with specific emphasis on freezing the degrees of freedom and using effective feedback to support learning. Pickleball is a great sport for teaching motor learning principles due to the court size, the very small footprint regarding equipment, and the movements can be scaled down to the learner. So here I have a pickleball court and the person that I am demonstrating the movements on. Jacob, will you hold up your paddle and your ball? So these are all the things we need for this demonstration today. The forehand ground stroke is one of the common shots in pickleball. Here I will show you a slow forehand and then a normal speed forehand. These joints need to be frozen for the movements to happen. For beginners, coordinating all the joints involved can be challenging, so the movement is simplified early on. So some common errors that are made with all skill levels are wrist flicking and poor or no contact with the paddle and ball. For new learners, the movement is simplified by limiting joint involvement. The wrist remains relatively quiet, so this is locked in. The elbow motion is controlled, so you're not swinging back and forth all crazy. And the swing is driven primarily from the shoulder, right here. The trunk and lower body remain stable to reduce balance and coordinating demands. So go ahead and go into your stance. And then, yep, no wrist flicking, your elbow is locked in. There you go, perfect. So the joints we are freezing, the elbow and wrist, the shoulder is the one moving along with your upper body, just swinging. So the joints that we are freezing are the elbows and the wrist. So at this point, because we're new learners, we're not going to do trunk rotation, just swing in from the shoulder. There you go, perfect. So go ahead and repeat the swing. No rotation from the trunk, it's just primarily from your shoulders. Perfect. At this stage, the goal is not power. The goal is consistency and control. Freezing degrees of freedom reduces the number of variables the learner has to manage. As consistency improves, additional movement is introduced. Trunk rotation is added first, followed by increased elbow extension and controlled wrist involvement. Weight transfer from the lower body is incorporated to improve power and efficiency. So here we're going to break it into small steps. Go ahead and do the frozen swing so everything's locked in. And then now we're going to add trunk rotation. Beautiful. And then elbow extension. So you can go in or out. And then now wrist and weight transfer. So you can shift. Perfect. In pickleball, the degrees of freedom are released in a proximal to distance sequence. This order reflects how the motor system prioritizes stability, control, and efficiency during skill acquisition. Let me do my strip. Trunk rotation is released first because it adds power while maintaining stability and doesn't require precise timing like the wrist. Go ahead. Okay. Let's do another one. Once the learner is consistent at trunk rotation, then the elbow extension is added to improve reach and control without adding too much variability. Go ahead. space between the shoulder and the wrist. This will allow for better trajectory control, and errors will be easier to detect and correct at this point. The wrist is released last because it requires precise timing and proprioceptive control. Releasing it too early can increase the variability. Earlier, I mentioned that wrist flicking is the most common mistake in pickleball. It's because it is a highly mobile distal joint and is very overused in this game. Weight transfer is introduced last because it integrates all of the movement patterns and requires stable coordination of all other joints. Notice how each added movement increases complexity, but also improves efficiency. This progression reflects how coordination evolves with practice. This progression reflects Bernstein's degrees of freedom framework and supports long-term learning rather than short-term performance. Knowledge of results is provided by indicating whether the ball landed inbounds or outbounds. Knowledge of performance highlights one key movement element, such as the paddle angle. Proprioceptive feedback is encouraged by asking the learner to reflect on how successful the shots felt.
Ball is out.
Ball is out.
Ball is in. Let me try that one again. Ball's in.
So the next demonstration of knowledge of results will be demonstrated here. So there you saw Jacob angling the paddle down, which made the ball go towards the ground instead of aiming up, just like that. Did that hit feel smoother?
Very smooth.
Over time, external feedback is reduced, so the learner relies more on proprioceptive information. Pickleball is especially useful in teaching motor learning principles because the equipment is light, the court is relatively small, and the movement demands can be scaled easily for new learners. By combining freezing and releasing degrees of freedom with appropriate feedback strategies, instructors can help new learners develop effective, adaptable motor skills that transfer to game situations. These motor learning principles are not specific to just pickleball. It can be transferred to any type of sport and all skill levels. Thank you guys for watching. I'd like to thank my husband and my children for making this video possible. And this concludes my week 8 video assignment.